Hello, everyone. Welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform for thought leaders to share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in the real world. I'm your host, Helen Yu. Today's topic is AI decisioning. Um, our special guest is David Murfield, Chief Product Officer at Provenir. Hello, David. Welcome to CXO Spice.
Thanks, Helen. Really appreciate you inviting me along.
I'm actually thrilled to have you here, David. But before we dive into our discussion today, let's have you introduce yourself and Provenir.
I'm David Murfield, Chief Product Officer here at Provenir. My background is both working in financial services in credit risk and fraud for leading European banks in the UK, fintech. Most recently, obviously, Provenir, where Provenir is a market leader in AI decisioning and decision intelligence. We provide real-time decisioning capabilities for banks and financial services organizations to make lending decisions, customer upsell, and a variety of capabilities within their organization. I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, thanks, David. That's a fascinating journey. With that context in mind, right? You probably I saw that you process over 4 billion decisions a year for over more than 110 customers. That scale is remarkable. I'd love to understand the thinking behind the single unified platform. What really drove that strategic decision? And how do you balance power and flexibility for technical users with low code accessibility for business users?
And I think it's a really hard balancing act for us to get those two pieces right. Over the last 3 years, we've made some deliberate decisions to try and expand our capabilities based on the fact that we've actually got a 20-year pedigree
Mm.
working with financial services organizations. So that's what really differentiates us is that background and understanding of some of these really nuanced technical capabilities. But as you can see from the scale that you've already quoted, enterprise level scale that we can support our customers with. So we focus on solving the real problems of both our new financial services customers and our existing ones in that one enterprise platform. So we hear time and time again how disparate siloed systems are really restricting how customers work. We couldn't be one of those in order to establish ourselves and develop the core capabilities for our customers. So what we've enabled ourselves to do is 5 years ago, we switched to a SaaS platform, completely cloud native and supported with all of the microservices and now AI capabilities you'd expect from that. But what that has allowed us to do is to rapidly and aggressively develop within that one product and focus on the things that matter to scalable enterprise organizations, batch processing, real-time system dashboards, and expansive support for R and Python. Those might not be the most compelling, eye-catching features, but they're the things that matter to large banks and large financial services organizations that they need to have within their business. The second point, which we've already mentioned, is we have this very deep and rich base of functionality already. We were almost that hidden secret within financial services. If people came across us 10 years ago, they'd be delighted with the breadth and depth of capabilities that we had. What we've done is take those feedback that we got from a product management perspective and bridge all those flavors from high code to low code and in certain instances no code by acting aggressively on the market signals and customer feedback. If we see a problem that needs to be solved, we act on it and develop the features and capabilities within 6 months. We don't put it to the back of the roadmap.
Mm.
Myself and our CEO are incredibly aggressive at prioritizing that roadmap, and it's really important for us to be agile in how we work. So that's the key thing for us. Always develop based on those signals when you see them. And secondly, you have to go with making everything back use case agnostic. It sounds strange to say as a niche platform, you have to be use case agnostic, but it protects us then. We haven't built a specific fraud capability or credit capability. And so that's how we work aggressively to solve that problem.
I love that principle, right? Use case agnostic. And that's, I'm going to steal that notion from you. You know, the platform philosophy is about breaking down silos. And at the heart of that platform is AI. But AI and machine learning is evolving so rapidly. What's your philosophy on building versus integrate when it comes to AI capabilities?
Well, it's a difficult balancing act. I don't think anyone would pretend to be able to keep up with the aggressive pace that Anthropic, OpenAI, and all of the others are moving at. But they have a huge problem. And I think this comes up time and time again. You've probably heard this several times on your interviews. Is they don't seem to have a clear moat. Like the people are switching from Anthropic to a ChatGPT and back again, once the best version is available or not. And that's why we've got to be very, again, use case agnostic. We've got to be independent to a specific type of LLM or AI as it works through. And so our focus is about enhancing our one platform to be agnostic to any LLM, to any agentic capability, so that we can evolve when our customers are ready to. The second thing that I would also highlight there is we're in a highly regulated market. We generally serve banks and financial services organizations. So while the people we sell to on a day-to-day might use their own personal device to access LLMs and other capabilities, there might be strict controls that need to be served. So how we use the AI is more around explainability and transparency to help a lot of those automated decisions. And not forgetting, of course, AI also means machine learning. That's where we've had a strong strength in the past, where we can support R, Python, and other capabilities. But the key thing for us is not locking ourselves into one specific type of capability or one specific type of framework, whether that be Langsmith, LangChain, OpenAI's framework, or whatever, but also adding that capability natively into our platform. For example, the most recent releases, we added MCP support. It's more typically used in a consumer B2C space, but we see huge value when banks and financial services explore that path to make use of that, but being completely agnostic to whether it's ChatGPT or Claude who you serve through those LLMs. And most importantly, of course, is that feedback from the customers. We want to make sure that that is embedded in our projects through subject matter expertise, so we know that we can solve those problems well. That one sort of good example is maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you might have gone to a specific third-party vendor to solve document verification. You still could if you want to verify a passport or a driving license, but LLMs and agentic capabilities have made it very easy to read unstructured data like documents, photos, and the like far more effectively than these quite expensive endpoint solutions. So we see a huge amount of improvement and automation coming from the use of those capabilities. So we aren't necessarily building capabilities around a specific use case. We're making our platform flexible enough to solve those problems and deliver those capabilities as smoothly as possible. So think of us as agentic orchestration rather than specific AI agentic capabilities that we'd serve to our customers.
Well, having been working with financial service industry for more than a decade, I can relate to what you described. That model agnostic approach really speaks to the flexibility, which is so critical, right? Managing data from multiple sources in real time is super complex. What were the hardest product decisions around data orchestration, and how does your marketplace approach different from competitors?
So long before I joined Provenir, the business understood this problem. If there was a moat that they established, it was this moat. I remember working in other organizations internally. It took 10 weeks to do some data integrations. Like it's
10
a
weeks is a norm. Sometimes can be much longer, right? Yeah.
exactly, and it's not because people aren't technically capable. It's because it needs an established, clean way of doing it. And
Hmm.
so long, like I said, long before I joined Provenir, they'd enacted the ability to do flexible adapters within the product. It remains a key differentiator for us. So it isn't just our marketplace. Now, our marketplace is amazing, and we've taken a very pragmatic decision to our marketplace. That was probably one of the toughest decisions we've had to make. Is we could keep building integrations because it's actually really quick and easy for us to do that using our technology, but we've got other areas that we need to focus on in our roadmap. So we know it's a strength. But we only really develop those new integrations now based on commercial and market needs as and when they come along within the projects. But because we complement that with the platform capabilities within our AI decisioning platform, our customers can build integrations to their databases, to RESTful APIs, to the various LLMs and agentic capabilities quickly and easily through the native low-code UI. It's really saying that we've not just established that moat, we continue to evolve it with AI integrations and LLM integrations as well. So the biggest decision we have is being pragmatic. But I think from our perspective, it will remain a key facet. If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be successful. But we've also got to keep an eye on the things that continue to evolve and change the data orchestration landscape.
The data layer is the foundation, right? I've been a human API myself in the past. So now all of this raise a bigger question about who owns the decisioning in the future. The low-code interface is empowering business users in ways that weren't really possible before. So what's your vision for how decisioning tools should evolve? Are we really moving toward a future where business users fully own these systems, or will there be still be a role for technical implementation?
Well, I think the key thing here is that we've recognized with our evolution of the last 3 years that there's different personas and different skill sets that use the platform. But core to this is a platform that can serve multitude of different users. Like if you think of a typical credit risk team, they might have 5 or 6 different users who want to use our platform. The senior manager, the deeply technical implementation analyst, the IT professional, or maybe the credit risk business user. Now, those roles might merge or be accelerated with the changes that we make in the product, but you still need a delineation in responsibilities. And most importantly, you need to be able to recognize what the market demand is. One of our biggest success historically has been able to serve as essentially an SLDC framework for technical users in how they deploy us. It's so much easier to deploy code and manage it within our framework than maybe traditional approaches. And so we recognize that's a strength of who we've sold to in the past, and we're not going to actively diminish that role. It's what we think is a key differentiator. What we do want to do is empower business users to bridge the gap where possible for smaller organizations or other business use cases where they could act as a technical user without that technical skill set. But we see it time and time again with our customer feedback. They love the fact we can go deeply technical, and we see that as another differentiator for us to serve that expansive capability. But that's back to your point, is like how deep do you go in a unified platform and how broad do you go? And we just have to be fairly pragmatic in making those decisions based on what's going to benefit the most of our customers in the next 6 months.
That balance between empowerment and governance is a real tension, right? And it gets even more complex when you think about the use cases that span different domains. You talk about onboarding, fraud, customer management, collections, all on one platform. So what are the unique product challenges in creating these workflows that span these traditionally separate domains?
Well, one thing is that forever and a day, I've always heard vendors talk about this nirvana of bringing everything together. Whether it's fraud and AML, or credit risk and fraud, or customer management and marketing, you want to blur the lines because it makes sense. As a person outside looking in, they're using the same data, the same strategic decisions are influencing each other, but in an organization, they're often siloed. And the challenge is that everyone needs to have that trust that that organization, that business they're partnering can solve the problem. So the marketing team is drawn to a marketing solution. The technology team is drawn to a technology solution. They need that subject matter expertise. So that's actually our biggest challenge, is not building a platform that's use case agnostic. It's working with our customers through our trusted advisors, our subject matter experts, to show that we can solve not just the technical challenges, but the machine learning and data science challenges and those other aspects. And because we have those subject matter experts, it allows us to get better, more coherent feedback of how the credit risk problem and the fraud problem have 90% Venn diagram overlap. So you can build a capability that solves for both as as well as you were building independently without inadvertently closing off, oh, for fraud, we needed to do that extra piece. So for me, it's about understanding that when you're talking to customers, having those detailed conversations is really critical. They can't just raise a ticket and you take it at face value. And then secondly, it's just about ensuring that you have a credible set of experts within your business to say, credit and fraud do make sense together.
Mm.
Marketing and customer management do make sense together. This is how we can solve it in both ways. So that's a lot of the time that we spend is internally validating those decisions. Now, that doesn't mean once we've sold to customers, they solve those internal silos. They still might be using our one enterprise platform and have those teams separately for legitimate regulatory or logistic reasons. But it's so much easier for everyone to use one core platform and that capability. And so, from our perspective, it's the feedback, the expertise, and that ongoing conversation with our existing customers, because often the new use cases don't come from external target addressable market analysis. They come from consistent themes that we've had 3 customers ask about marketing, we've had 4 customers ask about customer management. Then you can engage with your customer base more broadly and validate that across everyone. And that makes it so much easier to make roadmap planning conversations and get lighthouse customers. I
Mm.
think that for me, that's the biggest program that we've done over the last 3 years is partner with those lighthouse early adopter customers. And that gives you the comfort that you are building capabilities that work and will solve a customer problem versus just a theoretical problem without that sort of buy-in from those early adopters.
You know that customer feedback loop is so critical in connecting these domains in a single workflow. Kudos. And pinning all of this is a question of timing, right? When to act in real time versus batch processing. So how do you think about the product trade-offs between real time and batch processing? What use cases are really pushing the boundaries of what real-time decisioning needs to handle?
Yeah, and I think we hear this time and time again with our customers is that everyone wants to move to real time, but a lot of those legacy systems are still monthly batch based or weekly batch based processes. So we almost have to, or we've added batch based processing, not because we think it's the future, but because we're helping our customers move away from the past. So that's enabled us to use the same engine. So we use our same proprietary capabilities to process one event in real time as we do to do batch. So you have one UI and one set of low code configuration, and you can choose whether you're going to run that in batch or real time. So that's really future proofing how customers might use our capability so that they might day one go live with batch and they can switch it to real time very elegantly. The biggest challenges that we have is actually seamlessly working through all of the different third-party calls that need to happen because we can integrate into those. But imagine if you've got 10 data calls and each one of those data calls takes a second, which you have no control over how long those additional services run. If you're running them in series, that's 10 seconds. But because we're a mature platform, you can parallelize those processes, make all those data calls at the same time. So you are making 10 data calls, but they're all coming back within 1 second. So for us, it's not the technical capabilities, it's the pragmatism and the power we've given our users to control how they want to run their business. If they want to have conditional logic that this data call needs to happen and drive what happens within the next one, they can have it conditional. If they want to run everything in parallel because they need to get back and make a half-second decision, you can do that. But also for use cases which don't require additional third-party data calls, so pre-qualification or even online transaction type activity, our engine's proven to get to that sort of 10,000 transaction per second scale. So having an enterprise platform that can do hyperscale is really important for us to give our customers that maximum flexibility. So you can see how a lot of our decisions are building on that same core engine so that if we improve it for one, we've implicitly improved it for 3, 4, 5 additional use cases. And that's the same for real time and batch.
I love the fact that you have one UI that people can switch back and forth. And then the example you give also bring this to life, right? Every hour of real-time prevention translating directly into savings. So where are you investing product development resources right now? What emerging AI decisioning capabilities are you most excited about bringing to market?
So significant investment in our decision intelligence capabilities. So we recently launched our simulation module, which gives the users the ability to compare actual production data for the last 2 years. So if you've made a business change, you can compare that. Our next innovation is focused on recommendations. So not just having an end user make a change and say, what was the output, but proactively then say, actually, there's maybe 3 or 4 areas within your decisioning flow that you've already got the data or the information to improve that decision. So that can be driven by either an agentic interface, so a UI interface where you could interact with it and explore, and also automated processes. And so we're heavily focused on giving our users, whether they're business or technical, the proactive insights of how their business strategies can be improved using both the nascent agentic capabilities and established automated machine learning capabilities. Because if you're making a decision across 100,000 customers, you need statistical significance to make those recommendations, but to serve it up in a way that's easy to digest and easy to query, agentic gives you the best of both worlds to sort of orchestrate and control that. And the second place is continuous focus on the enterprise. We feel like we're in a unique position as a modern platform to truly serve the large tier one banks. So we're significantly investing in those areas which are regulatory or security or just general data protection focused. So we are that safe pair of hands to handle your data and your data decisions, but also we want to be the innovative, proactive recommendation engine for driving improved decisions. So those are the two areas for the H1 and a little bit into H2 of this year where we're heavily focused to further innovate and further strengthen our enterprise capabilities.
Further innovate, further strengthen your enterprise capabilities. That's exciting times right ahead. And as the platform grows more capable, the UX challenge grows too. So you're serving users who span from quant analysts to collection managers. I want to end our conversation on that human side of product design. Decisioning platform deal with complex logic and users need to move fast. How do you approach UX design for sophisticated but not technical users? What has been your biggest UX breakthrough?
So one, we've invested heavily in that team over the last 3 years. So we've got a really strong global team. It's a small team, but it's focused entirely on that. And I guess there's two things that our biggest changes have been is one, integrating them more closely with product so that they're closer to the customer and closer to the customer feedback. And two, they've also been one of the teams that have heavily focused on innovation internally using agentic capabilities.
Mm.
There's a number of different software solutions out there where you can generate designs using AI now. And so that's not what we use to generate our final designs, but it's amazing for prototyping. It's great to get that feedback, whether that's from customers or internal stakeholders. So visualizing an active click through that looks 90% like the finished solution that you can generate in an hour or so, it transforms the way you get the feedback and those capabilities. So that's great for developing new capabilities, but also having a design team and a UI development team that are working coherently, you're now having the right decisions be made in how you invest in a standard design system, a standard way of interacting within operating models. While we have bespoke use cases, lots of the design patterns are consistent. So it's a little bit of a boring answer, but we've really grown up how we approach UX and we recognize that patterns like how you do agentic, how you do enterprise level software and all those, they're 80% established. And taking the time to understand the specific problems and those specific features that are unique to our platform is where we want the design team to spend their time. And we want to use AI and established industry patterns to solve the best of those processes and capabilities. But it's really exciting. Like if you go back 2 years ago, no system would have the agentic chat interface and the interactivity. And now it's a primary part of how our decision intelligence and our decisioning capability supports our users.
I share your enthusiasm about the future, David. And this has been such an illuminating conversation. So thank you, right? From the philosophy behind a single unified platform to how you're building for an AI-driven future where the decisioning engine and the decision maker may become one and the same eventually. So before we wrap up, David, let me share 4 key takeaways from our conversations today. The first one is one platform, no silos, right? A single unified platform spanning the full customer lifecycle creates a compounding intelligence advantage that fragmented point solutions simply can't match. I love the fact that you talk about use case agnostic, model agnostic. So love that. Second is built to keep pace with AI. Provenir architects for adaptability. So as AI evolves faster than any roadmap, the platform moves what it rather behind it, right? Moves with it rather than behind it. I love the loop, the customer feedback loop, and then always building along with your early adopters. Number 3 is data orchestration is the hard part and is the mode. The toughest product calls at Provenir has been around data. Getting that layer right is precisely what sets the platform apart from competitors. Really love some of the design principles you have. You have the standard there, and then one UI for people to switch to really switch back and forth between batch processing and real-time processing. Lastly, is the line between platform and decision maker is blurring. As AI agents grow more capable, Provenir is positioning itself not just as a tool for decisioning, but as an intelligent infrastructure that powers autonomous decisions across the entire customer journey. Thanks for investing in innovation as well as enterprise. Your success with highly regulated industry is very noticeable. So, David, the thread running through everything you've shared today is very clear. Better data, smarter models, and the platform bold enough to grow into decisions of tomorrow. So, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.